Today, we're building up drums on the Synthstrom Deluge. Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Oakland Ghosts here with another episode, I guess, of Songs from Scratch on the Synthstrom Deluge. Before we get started though, I did want to mention that Oakland Ghosts has a new record out. It's Chapter 5. It's on all the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you like to listen to. Go take a listen. Tell us what you think. Leave a comment. Give us a like. Give us a follow on your favorite streaming service. It helps us out a ton. And if you're enjoying these videos, chances are you're going to enjoy the music too. And that's what we're really about over here. All right. With that out of the way, let's dive into the Deluge and what we're doing today. So today, it's another one of those situations where I don't have an idea. I don't have anything. I just want to get in here and crack a song out. And what I love about the Deluge, and I swear to God they're not paying me, is it's like a little inspiration machine. It's just so easy to get something going. And one of the ways I like to kind of get inspiration is through the drums, whether that's finding a sample or sequencing a beat. I tend to spend a lot of times on drums, not always initially. A lot of times I'll just sample something or throw something in there real quick as a placeholder. But by the time I do a finished song, I spend a lot of times on drums and the percussive elements that kind of drive it. I think that probably comes from my rock and pop background where, you know, drums are vital. They're super important and it still kind of carries with me today. So what I was thinking is maybe today we can focus on at least starting with how I come up with my drums and some of the tricks and stuff I do to make them sound a little more lifelike, hopefully. At least I think they do. Yeah, let's start with that and see where it goes. Maybe we'll have time to do a full song, or maybe we'll just spend a bunch of times on drums. Let's dive in. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's go to a kit. I don't use a lot of the house kits. I do sometimes start with them though. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with, yeah, this kit's fine, just to kind of get a rough beat going. Once I have a rough beat going, I'm going to show you how I make my own kits. Because you can keep the data that you type into the keypads and then just change the samples basically. Sure, we'll keep it at 120. Who cares, right? That's probably too fast. I'm going to do another measure. Start a little 5. I don't know. That's too much. Sounds pretty like old school hip hop. It's pretty silly. But sure. Let's start with this. See where we go. Alright, I think tempo, I might want to knock it down just gotta find the right tempo. Probably going to add a little bit of swing, so I'm going to hit shift and I'm just going to swing it a bit. Let's add some hi-hats. Going on a little bit late. Bump, 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 bump. Bump, 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 bump. Let's make this one like super late. So now I'm nudging them around. Generally speaking, I think hi-hat's a little bit ahead of the beat is kind of the jam. Sometimes like this one should be on and this one should be late. Cool. Got some rough hats in there. Okay, hats, I pretty much always, for some reason, like to pan them a little bit to the left. Not that it's going to matter here because we're mono out. I don't know why I go left. You know, I think originally I was thinking in terms of like when you're staring at the drummer on stage, it's to his left, but it's not actually, it's to his right. And then I realized I used to play on stage, so I'm thinking from drummer's perspective, which it is on the left. I don't know. For whatever reason, hi-hats to me kind of lead the beat a lot of times. And I don't mean like you play them ahead of the beat, although they sound better, I think, when you do. I mean that it's kind of guiding the beat. It's telling you where the beat's going. So for some reason, maybe it's because it's reading and you read from left to right. I'm thinking like you want the hi-hats to kind of come first. And then if I have a crash or a ride or something, I tend to put it on the right and pan it pretty hard. When I pan the hi-hats, I don't pan them too much, maybe 20%, something like that. The next thing I like to do is, for the hats especially, I like to vary how hard they're hit. Second one, let's turn that one up a bit, turn the first one down. And just change the velocity because obviously it's not touch sensitive. So I like the second one to be louder, but I'm not really thinking too much. Mostly I'm just trying to vary these up just so they're not like samey. This is the one that should be loud. Bum, bum, bam, bum, bum. So just changing the velocity on these things it just gives it a little more lifelike feel, I think. I usually do the same thing with the kicks and the snares too, but I'm going to wait until I actually pick the sounds that I want to use. Because right now, I'm not sure what sound we're going to use for those. One second. Today's session is brought to you by Gin and Tonic. Delicious, using Griffo Gin from Petaluma, California. All right, back to it. Let's see. So now at this point, I've just been using a house kit. This is the point, I think, even just kick, snare, hi-hat, this is the point where I want to start building my own kit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say shift kit, and immediately I'm creating a new kit now. And I got to start picking samples. So I think this one's actually asking me to pick one up here, but let's go to Ryan's kits. Let's go to my drum kits. I've got a million. This beat kind of feels old school to me. I wonder if I don't want to go, you know what? Let's mess around and let's go ahead and play in the Lynn drum kits here. So I'm just kind of auditioning stuff and seeing what we got. Kind of like that for a kick. So as you can see, when I created a new kit, I still have the pattern that I made, both bars, right? I still have the pattern, but the sounds are empty. So it was just cueing me to do my first sound. So I'm choosing this for my kick. And you know what? While I'm here, I'm going to affect this a little bit before I even mess with the other stuff. So I think this one would be quieter. This one would be loud. So I'm just adjusting velocity. When you do two together, you tend to do the second one a little bit louder. Just in real drums. Because you're kicking, right? So I'm not going to mess, what I'm not going to mess with is timing just yet on those. I might nudge some of these around too in a minute, but I just want to get the sound. Oh yeah. So this one has a really kind of mid-rangey attack. I'm just rolling off a little bit. I don't mind the reverb, but you know, let's do small room. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make this sound like an Old Skool sample when all's said and done. So I'll probably even put some vinyl texture on it too, just so it sounds like I sampled it, even though I've sequenced it. I like to do that a lot. I'll sequence the whole thing, and I'll make it sound like it's an old sample. I'll resample it, and I'll use that on a kit track, and then I'll sequence new drums on top of it. So I can affect that, the initial drums that I did, I can affect that as a sample. I can crunch it. I can make it, I don't know, I could just make it sound different. And then it's really cool because you have your sequence drums on top with a boomier texture I tend to put on it, like boomier drums, boomier snares. And then if I drop those sequence drums, it drops to like a sample, and it sounds like I dropped to an Old Skool sample, which is a really kind of a cool way to like mix up your song sometimes. So let's see if we can figure out a snare neck. I think that kick's fine. I might add a second kick, but for now, I'm just going to leave that as in. So let's load a snare in. And I think I'm just going to stay in this Lin drum folder. Actually, maybe not. I want a different sounding snare. Oh, that kick sounds dope. I like that. That's a pretty good sounding one. Just change the pattern a little bit, but whatever, I like it. So we're definitely gonna want on this, we're gonna want some reverb. It's got some nice snap to it. I think I might try to find something a little more organic, like a twig breaking or something, to kind of to get a little more of the high end on there in a minute. But let's start with this. Just that light touch of reverb is pretty nice. So same thing, I'm just going to adjust the velocity on a couple of these to mix it up. So this one I think would be a little louder than this one. You can see it's just a little bit, I'm hitting it a little, not quite the same hard, right? That's just not the right way to say it. Different velocity, right, whatever. All right, let's find some hi-hats. Sure, let's see what it sounds like to start. You know what? I actually kind of like that. I'm going to add a little reverb. I mean, just listen to that little bit of delay. Gives it that little shakiness. I mean, that's pretty dope. I'm going to turn the level of the hi-hat down just a bit. I don't think it needs much reverb, actually. But the delay is kind of nice. So the other thing I like to do, like I said, I do like to pan it. One thing I'm going to try that's kind of fun sometimes just to give it a little bit of texture is I'm going to hit this. So I got that sample selected right. I'm going to do frequency, which is going to be the cutoff, right? And I'm going to try to set that to random. So let me find random. Where are we? Here we go. Right. And I'm just going to play. And so what this is going to do is every time it hits, it's going to do a different cutoff. So it'll make it sound a little more natural in that, you know, when a drummer is hitting the hi-hat, they're not hitting it in the same spot on the cymbal every time. So it gets a different resonance. It gets a different sound out of it. So the higher I mean, even at 12, that's pretty good. I think a little less, because I want it to sound a little old school hip hop. Yeah, 10's pretty good. So you can hear the basically, like, think of it like the EQ is changing on it, right? It's the low pass filter adjusting on it, but since it's completely random every time, so it's like the drummer hits it in a different spot every time, which just gives it a little more natural feeling, I think. Dope. Okay, cool. We can back out of that. That's all we got to do. Nice. All right, let's find an open hi-hat sound. Those combos sound dope. I might have to do something with those. Okay, so this one doesn't have, this kit doesn't even have an open hi-hat. And I'm concerned that that's maybe just not long enough, but let's see. Yeah, I think that's just too short. I think I want to hear it, you know, I just want a little bit longer. So let's just see if we can find a better open hi-hat. If that kit just sounds dumb. All right, let's go to private reserve. Sometimes you can find some crazy stuff in here. Yeah, see, it's just, no matter what one we're putting in there, it's sounding too short. I want a longer tss. Yeah, like that. I mean, that's already better. You know what? I'm actually going to try to find a better closed hi-hat too. So these samples are a bunch of samples from Mars did. And these vinyl drum ones are super cool because they made the samples and then they pressed them to vinyl and then they resampled them. So you get a little bit of that vinyl crackle on them. I think that's a little too simple. Pretty tight. So a lot of times what I'll do here, and I'll try it, is I'll make a choke kit. So basically if you set this to choke and then I set this other one to choke, what that means is they can't play at the same time. So if think of it like as when you cut a note, right? Like this one's gonna play until another hi-hat plays and then it's gonna choke that sound off. And for open and close hi-hat, obviously that makes a whole lot of sense, right? Because you can't do both in real life. So now those are part of a choke hit. So it'll cut this one short as soon as it hits the next hi-hat. That's a little better. I mean, it was long enough that I didn't think it really mattered that much before, but that's just better. All right, this beat's kind of sounded dope. I mean, that's pretty funky. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm probably gonna add another snare. Actually, you know what? I do want to add another snare. Let's just do it. Okay, I'm gonna try to find something that's organic, that's not an actual drum, as it were. Random, maybe? Yeah, let's see. I got found sounds. I got a bunch of weird stuff in here. Body sounds, textures, mechanical, outdoors. All right, yeah, let's do that. So, like, I mean, come on. That's a dope kick right there, right? It's just a ball, like, getting kicked and bounced. But you can find some weird stuff in here that sometimes... That's just a weird... It's a garden fork, it says, but using that as a snare might be really cool. Ooh, I like that shrub smack. Let's see what it sounds like. I have no idea what this is going to do. I'm going to turn it back, but... I mean, I don't know. It's kind of cool, right? So I'm going to turn it down. I mean, it's not the main thing, right? But it's just a texture. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to do it now because, again, I'm mono, but if I pan that to like the right and I pan the hi-hats to the left, it's going to sound dope. Yeah, it's just a little texture. And a lot of times I'll do the same thing with the bass, right? So I won't hit, or I shouldn't say bass, the kick note. I might not hit every kick, but I might use some kind of weird sample to just kind of vary it up a little bit. And that's something that helps it make it feel a little more natural because there's just this weird resonance or weird tone that isn't the same all the time. So it helps it break up and not feel like it's from a computer, even when it is. And look, the truth is, if making a beat that sounds like it came from a computer works for your song, then it's the right thing to do. So this isn't all about trying to make something feel natural is what I'm getting at. Whatever the song needs is what the song needs. For whatever I'm doing now, I want it to feel like an old school sample is kind of what I'm trying to aim at for this. So that's what I'm trying to do. I think the next thing I want to do is I want to do a kit track, a new kit track. Do a new one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a loop. I want to find a loop of like vinyl or something like that. Just something that's, vinyl noises. This is all I'm looking for. So it just has like, like little pieces of crackles and stuff like that. I'm going to play this at the same time as that drum loop. And that's going to help make it sound like it's a sample. That's a pretty good one right there. And it'll actually make the whole song sound that way. So let's just go ahead and lay it in. I don't know how long that was. It might have been 2 bars. Let's see. Yeah, it's 2 bars. But what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it. So I'm going to just set it to stretch. And I'm going to turn it off, turn it back on. I think that'll do it. Yeah, so all I did, like I said, was I just added this final loop. And it's nothing crazy. You know what? I'm actually going to do 2. here's with and without. Okay, so here's without. It's really subtle. It's a really subtle thing, but it's just a little vinyl crackle that makes it adds a little warmth to it. So what I think is going to happen there is it's going to just make it sound, like it's a sample. The other way I'm going to do that is I'm going to EQ this all a little bit right here in the Deluge. So let's go into cutoff. Let's switch to EQ. Roll off some of the high. Roll off some of the low end and high end, right? Because those old samples always kind of sound that way. The other thing I'm going to do is maybe add a little bit crush. Sounds like an Old Skool sample to me, right? That's pretty cool. Okay, cool. So here we go. We got our beat. Sounds pretty dope. So the next thing... So yeah, I think today we're just going to focus on percussive elements and what will be ultimately the bed of the song, because we're already getting into about a half an hour in probably, or somewhere close to thereabouts. So let's think of some other ways that we can just make this beat sound a little cooler, right? So this is the main... this would be the main beat for our song. But let's just add a couple things. I like to add some other elements that just break it up a little bit. Let's see. I'm actually going to go into Riskit's pack. Riskit released a pack recently, and one of my favorite things about it is the number 2 folder, the fills. It's got some crazy stuff in here, as you can hear. They're all pretty similar stuff, but you can break it up in parts. You can do all kinds of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you. I'm going to set it to cut. Actually, no, I'm going to set it to stretch. I'm going to turn it down to kind of like this first thing. So I'm actually going to go into the waveform. I like just that stupid, even before these other little bloops and bleeps. Yeah, I like just that. Okay, this wasn't the plan, but I like where this is going, so. Ba-bum, ba-bum. It just sounds like a bass line almost. Yeah, okay. This one I would like to, number one, I want to turn it up. And I would also like to EQ it just a little bit, a little more bottom end. Okay. So that's basically how I go about crafting drums when I'm trying to make a track. especially if I'm starting with drums. In this case, like I said, I wanted it to sound kind of like it was an old school hip hop beat, so I added the vinyl, I sequenced the beat, and I just found some sounds that felt like that. I big crushed it as a whole. I also added some reverb, added some delay, added those kind of things, and then found a couple other pieces. But this I would call a pretty good solid starter beat. At this point, what I might like to do is I might like to resample that, so I would record it out, resample it, and I'd bring it in as kit track. I could affect it further, and I could actually sequence drums on top, and then I'd use that as my bed to build the song. But in the short run, this is pretty cool. I mean, it's got that vinyl crackle. I think it sounds like an old school sample. Like if you didn't know I sequenced this, you'd probably think I sampled it, right? And that's the goal. Thanks again for sticking around. Thanks for watching. I hope people found this helpful. If you did, leave me a comment. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go check us out, please. Our new album, V, is out on all streaming services. Check it out. Give me a couple clicks. It really helps us out a lot. Thanks a lot, guys. And we'll see you later.